No, what I'd like to say is that our students sometimes have never been told that they're smart. They've never been told to dream big. They've never been told to do big things. And so that's what we as professors need to do more of. We as a community need to do more of, to give people the confidence to fail, because failure is just another opportunity to learn something and do
Mhm.
better.
Yep.
So these kids, whenever I say, you're smart, you're talented, they're like, no one ever told me that. So
hmm
please continue doing that as a community
Oh,
and showing
yes.
them by what you do to dream big.
One, two, one, two. All right, let's roll. Welcome,
Welcome. You're listening to the Saddle Up Podcast.
where we discuss everything related to UTRGV athletics, past or present. We'll catch up with old teammates, friends, and take you down memory lane.
With exclusive interviews.
This is the Saddle Up Podcast, the voice of your covered walkway streets.
So dope.
This is gonna be awesome.
Stay tuned for new episodes every week.
From Bronx Village to the Field House, we'll cover it all.
Hell yeah, dude. Carpe diem.
So saddle up and let's go.
Let's go. Saddle up, partner.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Saddle Up Podcast. And this week, G, I know you're here. You're my main guy. You're the host. I'm the co-host.
I'm about to get replaced, but go ahead. Yes.
So this week, I have been wanting to get this guest on since the inception of the podcast, because she has meant so much to me in kind of cultivating the way I communicate to people. And literally, when you find out who Dr. Saavedra is, you'll understand why. But Dr. Dora Saavedra, who has been a communications professor at the university for many, many years, and was the one that helped me choose to become a comms major. And she joins the show this week. And I am so thankful that you have the time to get on our little show and join us and be a guest. So I'm like,
My pleasure.
right now.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
So
Yeah. Matt, thank you for introducing me to Dr. Saavedra. And right before we get started, I just want to let you all know that Matt has already tried to replace me with Dr. Saavedra. So, all jokes aside, Dr. Saavedra, so glad to meet you. So happy that you're on the show. And I cannot wait for you to tell the truth about how Matt was as a student. But anyway, Matt, take it away. Go ahead, man. Ask your questions. We're going to get to the real stuff, right, Dr. Saavedra? We're going to get to how Matt was really as a student. How was he? How was he? No, forget it. Let's wait on that.
We're good. But Dr. Saavedra, you grew up in Michigan, so you grew up in the RGV, right? And then you went on for schooling and you got your PhD from Kansas. But kind of walk us through how you became a professor at I say Pan Am because that's when you were my professor. But how did your trajectory land you at Pan Am or UTRGV?
Well, thank you for that question, and thank you for the lovely introductions, guys. I landed at KU at the University of Kansas for my PhD, and I always wanted to come home, but the time wasn't ever right.
Yeah.
And I would get these letters from Dr. Marion Monta every once in a while, who was, a legend in her own time in the theater department, asking me to consider applying. And so I worked at the University of Kansas for about 8 years, or, went to school there and worked there. Then I went to the University of Colorado Springs, and I got one of those letters.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I think this time I'm going to apply. And sure enough, I came back, I interviewed, and the students were, why do you want to come back to the Valley? Is this just because your family is here?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I still remember my answer. I said, being close to family is a two-edged sword. There are
is.
good things about being close to family, and there are
Agreed.
things that you sometimes don't
Probably-
appreciate about
Yeah,
your
you should probably
family.
avoid. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I didn't want to be that direct.
Yeah.
And so the whole class went, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I just loved the students. I just
Yeah.
loved the students. So when I was offered the job, there was no question. I would go back to where I started
Oh,
because
my God.
the students here are unique in many excellent ways,
Mhm.
many wonderful ways. And I've never regretted it. This is my 31st year back here because I worked here for about a year and a half before I left the Valley for
Okay.
Austin. So yeah, this is
30
home.
years. Wow. Wow. So what was your first year? I don't want to do the math, but what was your first year that you were there as full time before that year and a half, like that? Right? What?
Well, in 1973, I was hired part-time, and then I was hired full-time the minute I graduated May of 1973 for a year and a half. And then when I came back in 1993, it was September or August of 1993.
Wow.
So I've been here a long time. This is my 31st continuous year
Continuous year.
Since 93.
since
right?
93.
Wow.
Bless my pea-picking heart. Yes.
And how many out of all of those years, Doc, and I know we're going to be jumping around a little bit, but
That's
I
okay.
always have to go back to my boy Matt, right? out of those 31 years, would you say that Matt was your favorite student, and why?
I would say Matt is unforgettable.
That's definitely
Unforgettable.
That was a nice answer. That's a way to word it. But yeah, go ahead.
And let me tell you why. Because he has this outgoing personality. He had this genuine heart that was so full of love, laughter, and kind of like wanting to do his best all the time. That's why he's unforgettable. In the classroom, he would participate when he could. He had to travel as an athlete, and he would be so conscientious and so positive. And it was, hey, athletes, as you two well know, go through a lot of hardships.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having a full-time job and going to school.
Mm-hmm.
And having him in the classroom there were no excuses. There was nope. He wanted to do the job, both jobs well, and no excuses. He just did it.
Oh, I'll get your Venmo after this.
It's very active Venmo.
I'm gonna send this to Dr. Bailey too, so that way he knows that I did it too.
That's awesome.
So yeah. We're gonna send it to the group message. Yeah.
So Dr. Saavedra, you I know you mentioned that you attended the University of Kansas, correct? At some point.
She
I
got
was
her
not a
PhD.
basketball player there. It was for my PhD.
I was gonna say you have been to at least 2 universities where there are some special tall people like Matt Palmquist. Tell us what happened to you at the University of Kansas with another tall person, another personality. He's not better than Matt Palmquist, that's for sure. But this is a cool little story that you shared with us.
I was with Terry Avis, who was my office mate, and we were in Wesco Hall at the University of Kansas, and we decided to get into the elevator. And who was in the elevator? Now, you have to know, Terry Avis and I are about the same height. We're not 5 feet. I mean, I'm 4'10", she's maybe 5 feet, maybe. And so Danny Manning walks into the elevator and stands right next to us. And here Terry and I are, and we both turn around and look up, and we're, wow. We're in the elevator with Danny Manning.
And he was the consensus #1 pick overall in the NBA draft. That I don't know what year you saw him, but he ended up being the #1 pick for the Clippers that year he came out. So,
and he was an amazingly wonderful person. I mean, we didn't dare talk to him. He said hi, we said hi, but we were kind of in awe. We should have gotten his autograph, but
Yeah.
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 Yeah. There's something about these tall basketball players. They
There's
just have
something,
charisma about them.
you know.
They
So
do have a lot of charisma.
They
so
do.
so you come back, you've been in the Valley 31 years, you've been on the McAllen school board. I know that you were on the school board when I was in school. But what kind of, how can I word this? What kind of fulfillment do you have, like giving back to your community as far as growing up in Mission and then leaving, but then coming back and educating so many Valley youth? Like you've got to feel some sort of like way about that, like how many students have come through your classroom and that are from the Valley,
preparing them for real life,
preparing them for real life. Yeah.
I guess I can describe it by saying my heart is full. I sometimes run into them at HEB and they have children who are finishing high school. I've even had students who said, "Oh, my mom had you," or "My dad had you," or I haven't quite gotten to the grandchildren yet.
Yeah, you will. Oh my goodness.
Well, I may continue. At 71, I've still got a few years left.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
And I always say I love to torture my students, but by torture, I mean, I want them to think, I want them to succeed, and I'm going to do my best to make sure they have the tools to succeed and be competitive no matter where in the world they are.
I can attest to that because obviously I sat in your lectures and in your classes and I appreciate you giving me the compliments that you did. But on the flip side, as a student and having you as a professor, you were always so communicative and you were always so helpful and willing to go above and beyond to make sure that if we needed help that it was provided, even if it might not have been during normal office hours because of travel or whatever. You were always like, hey, here's, this is where we can meet and you can, turn in your assignment there or whatever. Like you were always so helpful. And I know it wasn't just me, right? I'm sure it was for everybody that came through your class. And so I want to say that it's reciprocated. What you've done for so many people, whether they're from the Valley or not, they've probably felt that love and, admiration for you too, as a professor.
Well, I need to kind of say that when I first got here, I was criticized for that.
Really?
And then I was given the name the humanitarian professor. And then other people started following suit. But, because I really believe that I can be rigorous and expect good product without being rigid.
Yeah.
You get the most out of it. Yeah.
And I still meet with students. I met with a student Sunday on Zoom, or I'll meet them at the library because people work, they have jobs. So I do what I want. If they're willing to make the effort, I'm more than willing to run my schedule, and see when they're able to fit in it. So
it's so, I had Dr. Saavedra right when email was kind of a new thing. Like it wasn't, if you needed to talk to the professor, it wasn't sending him an email.
You have to go find them. Yeah.
You had to go to the office and knock on the door, and you had to know their office hours. And so it's like familiarizing yourself with, all right, Dr. McQuillan or Dr. Strong or Dr. Saavedra, right? But I mean, it was pre-email. Like the internet had just happened. There was really no way of talking. Yeah. And she was, Dr. Saavedra, you were so helpful again, even without email. Like it was like, hey, how do we figure it out? And you were just there trying to help us. And
because you all wanted to learn, you all wanted to do. And so it's not about, I don't like the word professor because a professor is a sage on a stage. And I really prefer to think of it as we learn together. We share knowledge. I share what I have. You share what you have. and we both benefit.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Do you ever
Dr.
think that your
Saavedra,
favorite student of all time would start a podcast about the university?
No earthly idea that would happen.
yeah.
You were going to ask me a question?
Dr. Saavedra, I was going to ask you a question, and he totally threw me off with your favorite student. You know, it's just, it always comes back to how great Matt Palmquist is. And I apologize for that. I know he hasn't changed, but at least he's giving you your flowers, right? Yeah, you deserve that. So my question, I do recall the question now. We do have something in common, Dr. Saavedra. I know that Matt will probably be like, oh my gosh, why would you? There's always something that you always have to bring up, like throwing a football or most points scored or whatever. But we actually do have something in common. I was a lecturer at the University of Texas, Brownsville, between 2008 and 2015. All right. And and the one thing that popped in my head was I had so many students, right, in that timeline that I still communicate with, that I still, you know, they're leaders in the community, they're teachers, you know, and we prepared them for those roles. But there's also those students that you remember, right? Like not their greatness, but their excuses, right? Their little white lies, their little stories, right? We taught so many years. Can you kind of like share with like some of the best stories or the funniest stories or the best excuses outside of Matt Palmquist? Because I know Matt Palmquist had a bunch of excuses while he was.
I did not.
Yeah. Okay. Matt, why are you answering for Doc?
To be fair, the excuse that I remember the most is at the University of Kansas.
Oh, yes. All right. That's good. It wasn't
a student, it wasn't you all. It was a student who said she fell off a horse and had a concussion, and therefore she couldn't come to class. So Wesco Hall was up on the hill. I had two jobs, up on Wesco Hall and then at the division where the dean's office was. And so I went down the hill to the second office, and there she is having a good old time with her friends, and she sees me and her eyes get huge. And I look at her and I just say, I'm glad you feel better.
Yeah.
And kept on going. But yeah, if you have fallen off a horse and you have a concussion, you're not and she happened to be a dean of another college's daughter.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Busted.
Big time.
Oh.
Yeah. So you all,
yeah,
your excuses pale by comparison.
Now, you've obviously 31 years that you've been at the university. You've seen it as Pan Am, and you've seen it now as UTRGV. You know, it affected the athletes, the rebranding or the renaming. It affected the athletes from UTB in Brownsville, and it affected, you know, Pan Am athletes and so forth, right? Did the rebranding, and I don't want to get you in trouble, but like,
but you will.
No. But
we'll let it part out.
Did the faculty, did it affect the faculty at all? Like, I guess that's the question that I'm having is, did it affect the faculty at all with, you know, the rebranding?
The transition.
I think it did, and I think it continues to, because there are some people who continue mourning the loss of what they had. And you know, it's like a death of something.
Yeah.
And when you mourn, you don't just move on. You can move forward, which I think everyone has done, but that doesn't mean they move on and forget about it.
Yeah.
And there are people that I run into, some have retired, and they still don't like the new one, the new name, the new branding. I can understand why it was done, but it hurt. It hurt a lot of people. I even had a call from someone who said, they're going in the wrong direction. Can you do something to stop? And this person had already retired. I said, the train has left the station.
Yeah.
We'll just do the best we can with what we have.
This is
Are you
this
seeing?
is why I love Dr. Saavedra, because
She's the most positive person in
it
the
was
world.
the most, in whatever situation.
Just deal with it.
I know you guys just got beat by 60 by TCU, but it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Like,
Just don't show your face around the campus for a few weeks and you'll be fine. You just keep moving
out, Pat, and just stand to field
Well,
house.
I would say
quietly.
pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and start all over again.
Yeah,
Tomorrow is
exactly.
another day. I would always tell people it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Each day is a new beginning. Each day you get a chance to be a better person. Each day you can be your own hero. So you've got to keep positive. I know I make people sick with that.
No, you don't, Dr. Saavedra. I'm just trying to figure out how we can charge people for this episode, because this can't go. They can't listen to this free of charge.
They cannot listen to this without us getting paid, because this is some real good stuff right here. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really good stuff, though, and we all need to hear that. No matter what we're doing, no matter how old we are, no matter what jobs we have, how many, what our family situation is. Those words, man, they resonate no matter what time in your life you're going through. So thank you for that.
I've always wanted to ask you this question, because you've always been such a positive person, right? And again, you were my favorite professor. Do you ever have a bad day? Like, because every time that I've been around you, it's always been like positive, and just like what do you do on a bad, like, what does Dora Saavedra do to kind of get herself out of a bad day? Like, I'm curious.
I have a Tweety bird in my office, a little poster of Tweety bird. And yes, I do have bad days. And that I show this to my students all the time. If I were in my office and the internet were working in my office, I'd let you know. I'd let you see it. But
the internet worked at Pan Am. I don't know about UTRGV.
That's right.
But it's only my office.
I think we got
it's not working. And it's right across the hall.
Hey, we know Dr. Bailey. We'll get you a bigger office. We'll put the word for you. Okay.
All I want is the internet to work.
Okay.
But the Tweety bird says, when somebody gives you crap, remember, it's not you, it's them, because normal people wouldn't treat other people that way.
Yeah.
So it's perspective, right?
Perspective, because if you let it stick to you, then it's going to bring you down.
Yeah. It's going to
But if you remember, and people say, well, I don't know, how can I respect them? I said, you respect people because of who you are, not because of who they are. Because that's the kind of person that you are. And that's your character. And that's how you deal with people who don't treat you well.
Yeah, we're gonna replay this episode like every week.
I'm gonna replay it at least once a day. Like this is I'm getting all flashbacks from like just sitting in your class. And mind you, I would like to say that I sat in front, and you can vouch for this, Dr. Saavedra. I always sat in the front of the class.
The coaches made us sit there, by the way.
I needed the leg room, but yes, I sat in the front of the class, and so Dr. Saavedra was always right there in front of me. And so,
that's awesome.
And I do remember that, and he did need the leg room.
Yeah, you almost you probably
fly in here.
We'll bring that up to Dr. Bailey as well. Maybe get some.
We're gonna send him this episode. Dr. Bailey, you gotta watch this. You gotta watch this episode.
Yeah, we gotta take care of the internet and the pest control.
Yeah.
Yes, I appreciate that.
Like we got it. We're running close to time, but where is, I know you've got office hours and stuff, but where would you kind of break off and go to lunch in Edinburgh all those 31 years? where's your favorite? I know you live in McAllen, but where's your favorite place to eat and break away with colleagues, or kind of have a Dora Saavedra private moment where you just have lunch by yourself? Where is that place in Edinburgh that you love to eat?
I'm going to say something controversial.
Uh-oh.
I used to go to the cafeteria a lot.
I
There were
remember.
other
Yeah.
faculty members, etc., and it was a quick way to grab a meal. Since they
Yeah.
changed providers for the cafeteria and
Mhm.
the convenience store and the student union, I don't know if you know, I have food allergies. So
You do not know. This is a Saddle Up exclusive right now. The doctor's
because
making us
the
do that.
cafeteria people would make whatever I needed and make sure it had no pepper, no nothing. And so now I just go to Jason's Deli because, but back then I would always go to the cafeteria because it was full of faculty and students, and we
It
could
was a
have a
lot.
meeting there if we needed. And it was even way back when I was an undergraduate, that cafeteria, well, I mean, it was the bookstore was the cafeteria. We go play cards, whatever we needed to do. It was a good place to socialize. It was a good
Yeah.
place to socialize. So I don't know
Wow.
if I've answered your question,
Oh
but
no,
yeah.
you did. Jason's Deli. Yeah.
Do we need to bring that kind of culture back? Is that what we're saying?
Is that
Do we-
what it's missing?
Is that another Dr. Bailey
request?
line item?
I don't know because I think it's picked up and it's got a lot of people there, but people like me with food allergies can't eat there anymore, or
Oh,
because I have a
We're gonna-
million food allergies,
Share that.
and
But
that's okay.
we're
I
gonna
either bring
try
my
and
lunch or go
take
to
care of
Jason's
that
Deli.
for you. You took care of me. I'm trying to take care of you.
We're gonna try. I don't know if
Yeah,
we
we're
can-
gonna try. I will
To be
promise you that we'll
fair.
try and get pepper removed from the cafeteria and all the other allergies. You know.
Well,
Doc-
to be
Doctor-
fair, there's one
yes.
thing I can eat at the C-store. They have like a kind of like a Subway sandwich, and the lady already knows what I need, and
You were
what.
a staple. You were a staple on campus.
Oh,
Doc-
I'm a regular there.
Jason's Deli is definitely good, but I'm gonna go by the university. If you tell me what building you're at, and I'll drop off some Wing Barn gift cards for you, since they're very gracious in giving us gift cards to give to our guests.
Yeah.
As a bit of a sponsorship. So we want to shout out to Wing Barn, and I will get you some gift cards so you can enjoy Wing Barn if you've never been there. It's really good.
Or I can give it to friends. I may be allergic to their ingredients, but that's okay.
You know what? That's right. That's right. And they can
But I'll
actually
give them to friends.
they can make it special for you if you
They
tell
can make it special. We'll call Bobby and get it. We'll get it ready.
Yep. We'll get it right for you. Whatever combo. We'll even see if we can have a Dora Saavedra combo there, and then it'll
Yeah.
be free of all the allergies. That
Oh, you all are
But yeah,
wonderful.
we'll do that. We'll do that for you, and
We'll see
hopefully
what we can do. We'll see what we can do. But I just again we're short on time, but I just want to say thank you so much, Dr. Saavedra, for being such a positive influence and positive force and helping me and guide me through my my collegiate years. You were always there for me. You were always understanding, and having you on this podcast 25, 26, 20, whatever, 27 years later is just, it's amazing. And it's full circle. And I just want to say thank you for everything you've done for me personally.
Well, thank you. You all honor me by asking me. And I've enjoyed visiting with both of you. It's so much fun. So thank you for not asking me any basketball stats.
Yeah.
Although I do remember like I said earlier, that Roma basketball players were really good when I was an undergraduate here.
Yeah.
And
Chewy Guerra. Yeah, Chewy Guerra is a friend of the show. He's such an amazing human being. And he's a great guy. He's Roma's finest. So
well, thank you all for what you're doing.
well, if you ever need us to come and talk to your class as like a guest speaker, then just let us know. We'll be there. I would love to do that.
Sounds
I don't know if
perfect.
you'd love us to do it, but we volunteer our services.
I'll definitely volunteer my service for Dr. Saavedra, for sure.
I love it.
Yes. All right. Till
Thank
next
you.
week, guys. Thank you so much, Dr. Saavedra. We wish you all the best and continued success and education. And you might be known as the humanitarian professor at one point, but to me, you're always my favorite professor. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you all.
Till next week, guys.
Till next week.
Like, we weren't supposed to come up with something this clean. Like, something happened.